Kremlin forces pushing into a gauntlet of Ukrainian artillery, minefields, and FPV drones advanced at some locations and were repelled elsewhere. Reported casualties neared wartime highs. A multi-pronged Russian offensive, throwing massed tanks and armored personnel carriers into the teeth of prepared Ukrainian defenses in the eastern Donbass sector, has scored limited ground gains at some locations, but at the price of possibly record losses in men and fighting machines. Ukrainian official statements, news platforms, and unit battle reports on Monday said, Russian and Ukrainian information platforms likewise reported Russian tactical successes in the town of Donetsk, where Russian infantry captured a coal mine slag heap dominating surrounding terrain, and in the now ruined village of New York, where Kremlin troops took back ruins temporarily held by Ukrainian forces following a counterattack of their own last week. Large-scale Russian armored assaults, a rarity since late 2023, following the mass fielding by Ukraine of FPV drones, were reported along two major routes in Ukraine's eastern Donetsk region. By Monday, most reports said the Russian main effort in continuing attacks appeared to be aimed toward the town of Kurakhove, an important road center and site of a key regional power plant. A September 26 report from the 33rd Mechanized Brigade, a formation defending in that sector, said that a Russian tank and armored infantry carrier column heading west in a frontal attack against Ukrainian positions around the village of Antonivka, 5 kilometers east of Kurakhove, lost 16 vehicles in day and night combat. A video posted by the Sine Metu drone group showed the attack column stalling after hitting a minefield and then coming under mass fire by artillery, chain cannon, and anti-tank guided missiles. Later images show Ukrainian-piloted FPV/Kamikaze drones setting stop vehicles on fire and hunting down individual Russian soldiers. Video published by the 46th Mechanized Brigade on September 27 was, per that unit images, recording a massive 60-plus vehicle column advancing eastward along the N15 highway, the main road leading east from Kurakhove to the Russia-controlled city of Donetsk. Images showed a Russian combat formation deployed on a wide front before coming under heavy fire from the ground and air. A later unit statement claimed its drone pilots had confirmed 56 destroyed Russian heavy weapons during battles on September 21 to 23, but that Russian forces had overrun some brigade forward positions. Video published by the unit geolocated too and showed a probable Russian ground gain of possibly a kilometer and the Ukrainian loss of the adjacent villages of Hostry and Maximilianivka. Russian mill bloggers over the weekend confirmed heavy fighting and forward Russian movement around Hostry, new rounds of attacks to the south centering on the village Maximilianivka, and by Monday, were claiming both villages were fully under Kremlin control. According to the semi-official Russian army blogger Diva Mayora, Russian forces were grinding ahead relentlessly and had come near encircling a 10-kilometer by 20-kilometer Ukraine-held salient centered around the town of Novelsky and potentially containing 2,000 to 5,000 Ukrainian troops inside it. A 46th Brigade published September 22 comment on the battle swirling around Hostry said the Russian encirclement threat of 4 brigades of Ukrainian troops was real. Thinning Ukrainian defenses have been worn down by repeated massive Russian attacks backed by, at times, overwhelming firepower, that unit information feed said. You can hold positions for a long time if held by fully equipped and full-strength platoons and companies. However, if the platoon positions are held by only a few people against the mechanized assaults of 50 units of heavy equipment, like tanks, supported by enemy artillery firing shells in a ratio of 1 Ukrainian to 10 Russian, then holding villages including Maximilianivka, Kurakhove, and Hostry wasn't possible, their loss was a matter of time, the 46th Brigade comment said. Unit feeds from the 25th Airborne Brigade on Saturday reported a 20-vehicle assault against Ukrainian paratrooper positions around the heavily fought-over village of New York, 50 kilometers to the north of the Kurakhove sector. A helmet cam video published by the Special Operations Police Unit Lyut on Monday showed house-to-house fighting and infantry combat. Russia's 9th Motor Rifle Brigade and the locally raised Somali Special Operations Infantry Regiment attempted to break into Ukrainian defenses in the village and were repelled with the loss of 2 tanks, 6 BMP infantry fighting vehicles, and several armored cars, a brigade announcement said. Video posted by the 25th showed a Russian attack column coming under fire from artillery and FPV drones in day and nighttime fighting. By Monday, unofficial sources on both sides had acknowledged Russian forces had full control of the village. Kirilo Sazonov, a Ukrainian service member and widely read military operations commentator, in a Monday situation update, predicted the Russian offensive was running out of steam due to massive losses. The fighting in New York is brutal, Donetsk is burning. The enemy is entering Prechestivka and advancing in the Vodyane area. It's a lousy situation, but Kremlin forces don't have the strength to storm Pokrovsk. The enemy is shifting its efforts to the south and is pushing towards Kurakhove. The toughest fighting is there. In June, the Kremlin launched a wide-front offensive in Ukraine's Donbass region, and by August, following heavy losses and very slow going, appeared to have narrowed the medium-term objective of its attacks to the city of Pokrovsk. The current thrusts towards Kurakhove and Donetsk, well to the north and south of Pokrovsk, are proof the Kremlin has realized it lacks the force to capture Pokrovsk with frontal assaults, Sazonov said. Official Ukrainian sources acknowledge very heavy, recent fighting across the Donbass sector. Data published by Joint Forces Khortytsia, the overall headquarters for AFU units fighting in the war's Eastern Front, claimed its troops had from September 20th to 23rd, during the latest round of heavy Russian assaults, killed or wounded more than 6,000 Russian soldiers and destroyed or rendered inoperable 78 Russian main battle tanks, 153 armored fighting vehicles, and 201 artillery systems. AFU spokespersons have stated kill claims that Kyiv has documented by ground observation and drone video, but the AFU has not published full evidence to support its claims. The Icelandic military researcher Ragnar Gudmundsson on Monday reported daily Russian personnel losses are, averaged by day, at a near all-time war high and comparable to periods of crushing Russian soldier casualties in June 2024. Combat engagements likewise have been more intense in the second half of September 2024 than any other time in the war, Gudmundsson published data showed. On the other hand, a footage shows Ukrainian forces are reported to have struck a Russian military base in the occupied Donetsk region with a high-mobility artillery rocket system, Himars, causing massive casualties. Graphic videos circulating on social media, which media could not independently verify and will not share for ethical reasons, purported to show the devastating aftermath of the strike. It's not clear where or when it was filmed. A video has appeared online showing the aftermath of an attack, presumably on a training ground near Donetsk. The Astra Telegram channel, a project run by independent Russian journalists, said on Tuesday. The channel cited Russian military channel Alex Parker Returns, who said the attack was carried out by Himars cluster munitions during another exercise. Massive casualties, you can make mistakes, but you can't lie. Unteachable, alas, the channel said, sharing the 11-second clip. And other Russian Telegram channels said the attack resulted in about 50 Russian casualties. Ukrainian forces have used the Washington-supplied Himars on several occasions throughout the war, including in its Donetsk and Luhansk regions, which are largely occupied by Russian forces. The Kremlin has been pushing for the total capture of the two regions, which together comprise the Donbass since Russia's initial invasion of eastern Ukraine in 2014. Himars has allowed Ukraine to destroy Russia's most advanced anti-aircraft missile systems. Washington has supplied the Ukrainians with at least 39 Himars since the war began on February 24, 2022. In February, Serhiy Brachuk, a Ukrainian official in southern Ukraine, said Kiev's forces attacked a training area for Russian troops close to the Donetsk city of Volnovakha with Himars. He said in a post on his Telegram channel at the time that the strike killed about 65 Russian soldiers near the village of Trudivska, where units of Russia's 39th Separate Guards Motorized Rifle Brigade were stationed. Citing several anonymous sources, the BBC's Russian service reported that Kiev's military used 2 missiles in the strike. Brachuk published 2 unverified graphic videos that he said showed the consequences of the Himars attack. Another Himars attack in the same month on a training ground in the Russian-occupied part of the southern Kherson region reportedly killed at least 60 Russian soldiers. Mass liquidation of Russians near Podokalinivka in the Kherson region, said Serhiy Sternenko, a Ukrainian activist in a post on X, formerly Twitter, adding that not everyone survived.